The evening sky over Ravax 3 turned deep violet as the twin suns dropped behind broken mountains. Hot wind pushed red dust through the stone streets of the Cerati settlement. Captain Elena Reyes stood in the main square with Elder Vesk and the Alien Council. They spoke of trade, routes, and defense, words that sounded heavy and careful. Humanity wanted allies after too many wars. The Cerati were not sure if they wanted humans at all. A few steps behind Elena, 8-year-old Leo Reyes tried not to yawn. He was a slim boy in a plain enviro suit, brown hair sticking up. His backpack hung from one shoulder. The adults had been talking for what felt like forever. He had heard mutual security agreement 3 times and still did not know what it really meant. His eyes wandered away from the circle of elders. On a raised stone terrace, a group of Cerati children played. Tiles under their feet glowed different colors when they jumped. They shouted in their hissing language and laughed when the light flashed. One chased another with a glowing stick. Another drew patterns in the dust. That, Leo thought, looked like real first contact. He glanced at his mother. Elena was focused on Elder Vesk, hands moving as she spoke. None of the humans were looking his way. Leo took a slow step back. Then another. His wristband translator blinked a soft blue light, ready to repeat whatever he said. In a few seconds, he had slipped out of the human group and was walking toward the alien children. They saw him at once. Play slowed. Bright reptile eyes stared at the small human crossing the square. Leo lifted a hand. "Hi," he said. The translator copied his word in Cerati. A few of the children flinched at the machine voice. One older boy bared his teeth and hissed something. Leo's band translated, "Stay away, off-world." Another child drew a claw across their own throat. Leo did not need a machine to understand that. His stomach tightened. For a heartbeat, he almost turned back. He had been the new kid on 3 different worlds. He knew what it felt like to be pushed out. Then he saw her. At the far edge of the terrace, near a cracked pillar, a small Cerati girl sat alone. Her scales were pale blue with faint white spots. Her thin tail wrapped around her knees. Her hands were empty. She watched the other children play, eyes wide and sad, but she did not move. She looked like someone standing outside a warm house in the cold, too scared to knock. Leo stopped. The safe choice was to try the main group, but his feet turned toward the lonely girl instead. Behind him, the other children hissed again. One slapped a hand over their face. Another shook their head hard. Leo ignored them. He sat down on the warm stone a short distance from the girl, leaving space so she would not feel trapped. "Hey," he said softly. "I'm Leo." The translator repeated his words. The girl jumped. Up close, Leo saw that her eyes were a deep, bright blue, full of fear. "Can you understand me?" he asked. Slowly, she nodded. "What's your name?" Leo asked. Her tail uncurled, then curled again. For a long moment she said nothing. Her fingers pressed flat on the stone. Then she whispered, "Kira." The translator tried to copy the sound, but Leo heard her real voice, small and rough. He smiled. "Kira, that's a nice name." She stared at him like she expected a cruel joke to follow. Leo opened his backpack. His fingers found a small, familiar shape. A wooden glider. His father had carved it by hand. The wings were uneven. The nose had a chip. Burn marks showed where Leo once tried to glue on a tiny thruster. It was the last gift his father gave him before his ship went out and never came back. Leo looked at the toy, at Kira's empty hands, at the group of watching children who would not stand near her. He took a slow breath. He held the glider out to her. "For you," he said. "We can play together." Kira stared at the toy, then at Leo's face, then at the toy again. Her fingers shook as she reached out. When her cool, scaled hand brushed his, he felt a quick tingle, like static. She took the glider and held it to her chest, as if it might disappear. "Why?" she whispered. Leo shrugged. "You looked lonely," he said. "I know how that feels. I don't want you to feel like that." His translator searched for words and chose a Cerati phrase that meant left outside the fire. Something changed in Kira's eyes. Her shoulders eased. A small, shy smile pulled at her mouth. On her face, that tiny smile was brighter than the glowing tiles. She copied the way Leo threw the glider. It wobbled, dipped, then caught the warm wind and curved back. The sight pulled a clear laugh from her, sharp and bright. A few nearby adults turned, surprised by a sound they had never heard from Exile Blood. Across the square, Elder Vesk fell silent, his golden eyes fixed on the children. Elena followed his gaze and saw Leo beside the small alien girl, the wooden glider between them. Her heart jumped. Who is she? Elena asked quietly. Elder Vesk's voice was low. Exile blood, he said. Her father is Korvac of the Stormlance, war chief of the Dune clans. Her mother was of our Concord. They're joining Brokold law. Now the child belongs to both, and to neither. The others fear to stand near her. Elena watched Leo and Kira draw patterns in the dust. Kira glanced up at Leo with open trust, the glider safe at her side. I see a boy sharing a toy, Elena said. That's all. Vesk's tail flicked once, like a warning mark drawn in sand. On Ravax, he said, nothing is ever just anything. High above the settlement, unseen, 3 small scout drones turned and sped out across the dunes, sending tight beam signals into the dark. By morning, the war clans of the deep desert would know. A human child had given a gift to Exile blood, and the riders of the Stormlance would begin to gather. The first light of dawn crept across Ravax, 3 like a blade of fire. Red sunbeams crawled over the dunes, slowly waking the settlement from its uneasy sleep. Captain Elena Reyes had barely closed her eyes when her comm buzzed sharp and loud beside her cot. Captain, you need to come to the East Ridge. Right now. Lieutenant Chin's voice trembled, something she rarely allowed. Elena was on her feet instantly. She checked Leo's room before leaving. He slept curled around his blanket, his clan friend pendant faintly glowing blue in the dark. Kira had returned to the Concord quarters earlier, still clutching the wooden glider. Elena brushed Leo's hair gently. Stay safe, kid, she whispered, though he could not hear her. She stepped outside and felt the weight of fear in the air. Sarati adults whispered in tight circles. Doors stayed half shut. The usual morning clatter was gone, replaced by a silence that felt too heavy to be normal. Elena climbed the ridge where Chun and 2 Marines stood staring out across the open desert. Report, Elena demanded, breath catching in her throat as she reached them. Chun handed her binoculars. See for yourself. Elena lifted them and froze. The desert did not look like desert anymore. It moved. A massive formation rolled across the dunes, forming dark waves against the red sand. Dust rose in thick clouds. At first Elena thought it was a sandstorm, but then shapes sharpened. Beasts, warriors, banners, hundreds of them. 6-legged armored mounts thundered forward, their metal harnesses flashing in the rising sun. Sarati war riders sat tall and fierce on their backs, weapons slung across their shoulders. Their armor was bone and metal, carved with sharp markings. Their faces were painted in black and silver stripes. There were so many they looked like a second sunrise. Chin swallowed. Sensors read at least 500 riders. Fully armed. Full battle formation. Defensive posture? Elena asked. No. Chin whispered. Honor formation. That was worse. Sarati only marched like that when answering a challenge, a blood debt, or a sacred call. Elena's heart clenched. Leo had played with Kira. He had given her his toy. Had that simple act called an army? Hold all weapons down, she ordered. If they wanted to attack, the settlement would already be gone. The war riders slowed as they approached the settlement walls. Their formation tightened until it looked like a giant crescent wrapping around the edges of the town. The ground trembled beneath Elena's boots. As the riders stopped, dust settled enough to reveal a single warrior stepping forward. He was enormous, taller than any Sarati Elena had met. His scales were dark bronze, marked by deep scars. His armor was decorated with desert crystals that caught the light like fire. His long tail swept the sand with controlled power. Korvac of the Stormlance, Chin whispered. This is bad. Really bad. Behind Korvac stood another figure, slender, tall, armored in storm gray. A female warrior. Her twin blades rested at her hips. Her eyes burned like molten silver, steady and sharp. She saw Elena watching, and nodded as if greeting an equal. Elder Vesk arrived breathless, nearly stumbling. He bowed so low his forehead almost touched the sand. Korvac, Vesk rasped. War Chief, your presence, it is unexpected. Korvac's deep voice rumbled across the front line. He spoke in Sarati, each word striking like a hammer. The translator at Vesk's belt clicked rapidly. Korvac comes for the human boy, it repeated. The boy who offered Fireheart to Exile blood. Elena stiffened. Chen cursed softly behind her. Leo. This was because of Leo. The settlement's residents parted as a guard approached with 2 children in tow, Leo, rubbing his eyes, and Kira, holding the wooden glider tight against her chest. Her small tail quivered nervously. When Korvac saw Kira, his battle-hard face softened for only a moment. When he saw Leo, something like disbelief flickered across his sharp eyes. Leo's steps slowed. "Mom, are they here because of me?" Elena forced a calm she didn't feel. She knelt and held his shoulders. "Whatever this is, we face it together. Stay right beside me." They walked forward. Korvac towered above them. The giant war chief looked Leo over carefully, his simple clothes, messy hair, nervous hands clutching his pendant. Silence stretched dangerously long. Then Kira broke free. She ran to her father and pressed the glider into his large hand, talking fast in her language. Her words trembled with excitement and fear. Leo understood only one thing. She was defending him. Korvac lifted the tiny wooden toy between 2 clawed fingers. The war chief of 500 deadly riders held a crooked, chipped glider like it was a royal jewel. He turned to Leo. "You gave my daughter your treasure," the translator echoed. "You saw her when others refused." Leo shifted nervously. "She was alone. I didn't want her to be." Korvac bent down until his massive face was inches from Leo's. Then he placed a heavy pendant, made of storm crystal and metal, around Leo's neck. "From this day," the translator said, "you stand under my storm. No blade of the dunes will touch you." 500 warriors struck their weapons against the ground in a single thunderous salute. Leo flinched. Elena's breath caught. Behind Korvac, the tall female warrior, Saren, first blade, watched Elena with eyes full of interest and something else, recognition. The desert wind hissed, as if whispering a warning. Elena suddenly felt that everything had just changed, and not in a way any of them were prepared for. Something had begun. Something much bigger than a child's kindness. And something far more dangerous was coming behind it. Night settled over Ravax, 3 with a strange heaviness. The air felt thick, as if the planet itself was waiting. The Stormlance war riders had set up a massive camp outside the settlement walls. Their glowing tents dotted the dunes like scattered embers. War beasts slept with their armor still strapped on. Warriors sharpened blades that already looked sharp enough to cut air. Inside the settlement, the Concord elders tried to continue the negotiations with Captain Elena Reyes, but no one was truly focused. Every conversation circled back to the same question. Why did Korvac bring 500 riders for one human child's kindness? Even Elena wasn't sure anymore. But Leo knew none of this. He was too busy laughing with Kira in the training yard. The 2 children sat in the dust, building shapes from small glowing stones. Kira showed Leo how Sarati children made patterns to tell stories, circles for family, lines for journeys, bright stones for moments of honor. Leo tried to copy her symbols, his drawings messy, but full of effort. Other Sarati children drifted closer, curious. They didn't hiss this time. They didn't warn Leo away. They watched as Kira explained how to place each stone, her voice soft but steady. For the first time, she didn't look like exile blood. She looked like someone finally seen. Elena watched from a distance with folded arms, unable to hide her smile. But she wasn't the only one watching. Saren stood in the shadows nearby, quiet as a blade. The tall first blade of the Stormlance observed Leo with a sharp, unreadable gaze, head slightly tilted as if measuring him. Her presence radiated strength, but also something surprising, curiosity. When Elena looked her way, Saren stepped forward. "You worry," Saren said calmly. "Every parent worries," Elena replied. Saren's silver eyes flicked toward Leo and Kira. "The children understand something our elders forgot. They see each other without old scars." "That scares a lot of adults," Elena said. Saren's mouth curved in the faintest smile. "Good." Fear shakes stagnant bones. They stood side by side in a silence that wasn't uncomfortable. The warm wind carried distant laughter from the children. Then the ground trembled, just once. A faint shake, subtle enough that others might not have noticed. But both women felt it. "What was that?" Elena whispered. Saren didn't answer immediately. Her blade hand twitched, an instinct older than reason. Before they could investigate, a sudden gust of cold wind swept over the training yard. The glowing stones flickered. Kira's tail stiffened. Leo looked up, frowning. The children weren't laughing anymore. Kira sniffed the air. Sarity's senses were sharper than humans. Her small scales rippled. You feel that too? Leo asked quietly. Kira nodded. The sky smells wrong. Elena and Saren reached the children just as a strange silence fell over the settlement, like the world inhaled and refused to exhale. Above them, clouds formed where moments earlier the sky had been clear. Not natural clouds. They twisted, blackening in spirals. A faint humming sound vibrated through the air. Saren's voice hardened. This is no desert storm. The humming deepened until Elena felt it inside her bones. Windows trembled. Loose stones rattled. Sarity warriors marched to the walls, shouting warnings. Riders mounted their beasts with frightening speed. Elena's comm buzzed sharply. Captain, Lieutenant Chin barked. We've got something on long-range scanners. Not Sarity, and not anything we've seen before. What kind of something? Elena demanded. A ship, Chin said. Stealth class. Fast. Coming in from high orbit. Saren snapped out a single order in her language. Stormlance warriors instantly reorganized, forming lines and circles of protection around the settlement. Leo clutched Elena's arm. Mom, what's happening? Elena knelt to him, trying to keep her voice steady. Stay with me. Don't run. Don't wander. Kira pressed close to Leo, her tail wrapping around his leg in fear. Then, without warning, the sky ripped open. A spear of black metal shot down through the clouds. A silent ship, sleek, smooth, shaped like a predatory bird, descended with terrifying speed. No signal. No request to land. No diplomatic lights. Just hunger. The settlement's lights flickered as the ship passed overhead. The humming turned into a low, rattling growl. Stormlance war beasts roared in answer. Saren drew her twin blades with a ringing sound that cut through the growing chaos. Scavengers, she spat. Raiders from the outer void. Elena pulled out her sidearm. How do they move so quietly? They eat worlds, Saren said simply. Quietly is how they survive. The black ship hovered over the center of the settlement, casting a massive shadow. Its underside opened like a mouth. A pulse of white energy exploded downward, shaking everything. Stone cracked. Warriors scattered. Children shrieked. Dust filled the air. Leo shielded Kira with his small body. Before Elena could reach them, figures jumped from the ship, tall, armored in black exosuits, glowing with cold blue lines. Their movements were smooth, too smooth, as if their limbs weren't fully organic. More raiders. Saren lunged at the nearest one with a snarl, blades flashing. Elena's heart pounded. This was not an accident, not a coincidence. Someone had followed the Stormlance. Someone had heard that a powerful war chief moved toward a small settlement, and someone wanted to take advantage of it. The raiders didn't come to negotiate. They came to harvest, and they had chosen the wrong planet to hunt on. Chaos swallowed the settlement within seconds. The raiders moved like shadows with metal bones, their black exosuits absorbing every torch and lantern light. They didn't shout, didn't speak, only advanced with mechanical precision. Blue lines pulsed across their armor like heartbeat signals. Captain Elena Reyes fired first. Her shot cracked through the air and struck a raider in the chest. The blast flared, and then fizzled into nothing. The raider turned its blank helmet toward her, as if annoyed. They're shielded, Elena shouted. Aim for joints, where armor moves. Saren was already there. The first blade leaped high, spinning in the dust-heavy air, her twin swords slicing into the soft gap behind a raider's neck. Sparks burst out. The creature staggered, collapsing under its own weight. Stormlance riders charged in behind her, their war beasts screeching with rage. The ground trembled under heavy steps. Lances glowed red, cracking against raider plating. But the raiders weren't here for war. They were here for targets. A group of them moved in formation toward the Archive Tower, the oldest building in the settlement, where the Concord kept their ancient star charts and old power cores. Elder Vesk and 2 council members stood at its entrance, shouting commands and trying to seal the doors. Too slow. One raider grabbed Vesk like he weighed nothing. Elena saw his feet lift off the ground, kicking, claws scraping against metal. 2 more raiders dragged another elder away while the third slammed a device on the archive door. The stone cracked under the force. Elena, Chun shouted across the square. We've got at least 20 raiders on the east side. They're forming a circle. Something big is happening. A ripple tore through the air. A second dark ship, smaller but faster, dropped from the clouds and hovered close to the ground. Its lower hatch peeled open. Elena recognized that type of ship from old military reports. A harvester-class skiff, used for abducting living beings. Her stomach dropped. They're not just stealing tech, she breathed. They're taking people. Mom, Leo's voice cut through every sound. Not fear, desperation. She spun around. Leo and Kira were crouched behind a fallen pillar, dust clinging to their hair and scales. Leo held Kira protectively, eyes wide as a raider stalked toward them. Fire! Elena screamed, sprinting. Saren reached them first. The first blade slid across the sand like a storm, her silver armor reflecting the ship's pale glow. Her twin blades moved faster than Leo's eyes could follow, one slicing the raider's weapon, the other piercing under its rib-like armor. The raider collapsed. Saren stood in front of the children like a wall of steel. You do not touch them, she growled to the fallen creature, though it could not hear her. Elena reached Leo, pulling him tight. Are you hurt? She breathed. No, Leo gasped, voice shaking. But they took Elder Vesk? I saw it. Elena's pulse thundered. Where? Leo pointed to the archive tower. Through swirling dust, Elena saw the raiders carrying the elders toward the hovering skiff. Their limbs hung limp, alive, but stunned. The skiff's interior glowed sickly blue. Saren's spines rattled. They are taking knowledge. They want what our elders hold in their minds. And maybe more, Elena muttered. The raiders didn't kill unless forced. They collected. That made them worse. Stormlance warriors fought harder, roaring battle cries, their blades carving open more raider suits. But every time one fell, another took its place, moving in silence, working with eerie coordination. Elena saw something even more terrifying, small cylindrical devices placed at four corners around the settlement. Each device glowed faintly. Chun, she yelled. They planted anchors. Chin swore, which means they're preparing a full extraction. They plan to lift half the settlement if they have to. The skiff's engines grew louder. Dust and debris swirled upward in twisting whirlwinds. They're leaving, Saren shouted. But not empty, Elena said grimly. The raiders carried their captives aboard. Elder Vesk's eyes fluttered, his long tail limp. Another elder was dragged by her arm, claws leaving deep lines in the sand. A third was half carried, half pushed into the ship. Stormlance. Korvak's booming voice rolled across the settlement. The war chief charged in on his beast, armor glowing red-hot. Do not let them escape. His riders launched grappling hooks at the skiff, but the ship jerked upward with violent force. Two beasts were lifted briefly before crashing back down, their riders thrown hard into the sand. The skiff rose higher. Mom, look, Leo cried. Kira pointed at the archive tower, at something Leo had spotted earlier. Under a broken slab of stone, half buried in dust, a carved disc flickered with faint blue symbols. Leo dashed to it before Elena could stop him. Leo, wait. He ignored her, dropping to his knees. When he touched the disc, the symbols brightened under his hand. Kira froze, pupils wide. That is a pathstone, she whispered. Saren inhaled sharply. Those are forbidden. Leo lifted it with both hands. It was heavier than it looked, stone mixed with metal, ancient yet warm like something alive. It glowed when the elders were taken, Leo said. Maybe it's showing something. A place or a direction. Kira leaned close, tracing the symbols with gentle claws. This part, it means deep path. This one means hidden valley. This. Her voice cracked. This marks the rift canyons. Saren stiffened. The raiders' nest. Elena stared. Are you saying this stone leads to them? Kira nodded. It shows a path only exile blood can open. Korvak thundered to their side, eyes blazing with fury. He looked at the pathstone and went silent. It cannot be, he murmured. We sealed that truth generations ago. That path leads to the old breaker. He turned to Elena. A machine that can shut down all foreign technology across the region. Shut down. Elena repeated. As in fry every ship and raider's suit. Yes, Saren said. But also human tech. Concord tech. Stormlance tech. Elena exhaled. A planetary reset. Leo held the stone tighter. But it might stop them. It might save the elders. Kira met his eyes, trembling but brave. It was calling us. I know it. Korvak looked between the two small children, the human boy who gave a toy, and the exiled daughter who finally smiled. then at the rising skiff. He made his decision. "We ride at dusk," he said. "Small group. Fast. Quiet." Elena nodded. "We rescue the elders. We disable that ship. We follow the pathstone." Saren stepped closer to Elena, voice steady. "The canyon reveals fear. It twists the mind. It breaks the unprepared." Elena met her gaze. "Then we don't break." Saren's eyes softened. "Good. Because the hunt has begun." Above them, the raider's skiff vanished into the dark sky, carrying its stolen captives. But the war for them was only beginning. The rift canyons were not a place meant for living beings. Even from a distance, the land looked wounded, scarred by deep cracks, glowing veins in the rock, and strange fogs that twisted in spirals. The wind here didn't blow, it drifted, heavy with static and a faint metallic taste. Stories said the canyons whispered to travelers. Stories also said they swallowed entire war clans without leaving a single bone behind. Tonight, a small team stood at the canyon's edge, preparing to enter. Korvac of the Stormlance checked the straps on his curved blade. His war beast snorted behind him, restless and uneasy. Serena, the first blade, tightened the wraps on her arms. Elena Reyes checked the charge on her sidearm, already knowing tech might fail deeper inside. Leo and Kira stood together, clutching the glowing pathstone that pulsed softly like a heartbeat. Lieutenant Chen approached Elena. "Captain," she said quietly, "the rest of our team will stay behind with the Concord. If we don't come back." "We'll come back," Elena said firmly. "We don't leave our people with raiders." Chen nodded once. "Understood." She tapped her helmet and stepped back. Korvac raised his voice. "We move in single file. Stormlance formation. Children in the center. Eyes sharp. The canyon reveals lies and truths. Both will try to break you." Leo swallowed hard. Kira's tail wrapped around his arm for comfort. The pathstone brightened. "It wants us to go left," Kira whispered. Korvac frowned. "That path is narrow. Dangerous." "Elia Blood sees truths others cannot," Saren said. "We trust the path." Elena helped the children climb down the first slope. The ground shifted underfoot, warm like something alive. A soft hum vibrated through everyone's bones. Leo shivered. "Mom, does the ground feel like it's breathing?" "Yes," Elena admitted. "Stay close." The team moved deeper, stepping into shadows that swallowed sound. Walls rose high on both sides, jagged and glowing faintly. Patterns etched into the stone lit up as they passed, like ancient eyes watching. Whispers began, at first soft, almost a trick of the wind, then clearer. "Leo," a voice that sounded like his father. Leo froze. His father had died 2 years ago, on a ship Elena could not save. Kira tugged his sleeve urgently. "Ignore it. The canyon steals voices." But Leo heard it again, closer, stronger. "My brave boy, come here." Leo blinked hard, fighting the ache in his chest. His steps faltered. Then Elena gripped his shoulders. "Look at me. Not at the walls. Me." Her eyes were steady, grounding him. Leo nodded shakily. Kira squeezed his hand. Ahead, Saren suddenly stopped. Her silver eyes flickered. Her breathing changed, uneven. Elena stepped beside her. "Saren." The first blade stared at a glowing mark on the rock. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "My mother's voice, she calls me by my childhood name." Elena put a firm hand on her arm. "It's not real. The canyon is using your heart against you." Saren blinked twice, the haze clearing. She nodded sharply. I walked forward. Korvac, further ahead, bellowed a warning. "Eyes front. The canyon hunts your mind. If you follow its lies, you will walk off cliffs." He didn't have to warn Leo twice. The boy kept his gaze locked on the pathstone. Deeper still, the light changed. The air thickened. Strange blue plants grew from cracks, lighting the path with an eerie glow. Kira whispered, "The symbols say soon. The breaker is close." Elena frowned. "How do you know?" "My mother used to draw these shapes on our walls," Kira said quietly. "She said they were from the old times, before the clan split." Korvac stiffened, but said nothing. Old wounds ran deeper than the canyon walls. Further in, they reached a fork. One path was wide and bright, but the stone flickered dull when pointed toward it. The other was a thin crack barely wide enough for a person. Leo lifted the stone toward the narrow path. It flared brilliant blue. Korvac grimaced. This path used to be forbidden, even to riders. Saren looked at him. Everything that was forbidden brought us here. They squeezed through the narrow opening single file. Elena helped Leo slide sideways through the tightest part. Suddenly, the canyon opened again into a massive hollow chamber. The roof glowed like midnight fire. In the center stood a wide stone platform, smooth, carved, ancient. Strange metal pillars circled it. Kira held the stone forward. It pulsed faster. "This is the place," she said. Leo stepped beside her. "What now?" Before anyone answered, a low rumbling sound rose from the depths, like a sleeping beast waking. Elena's hand flew to her weapon. "Raiders?" "No," Saren whispered. "The breaker. It feels us." An alien wind swirled through the chamber, lifting dust in spirals. Korvac stepped closer, voice heavy. "Once activated, this machine shuts down all foreign tech in a wide range, including our weapons." "Your weapons?" "The Raider ships. Everything." "We know," Elena said. "It's worth the risk." Kira pressed the pathstone into a slot at the center of the platform. Lines of blue light shot out in circuits, snapping around the pillars like lightning. Leo grabbed her hand. "Ready?" Kira nodded, trembling. "Ready." The platform lit beneath their feet. The chamber shook. Above them, a deep boom echoed, like something in the sky breaking open. Saren's eyes widened. "The Raiders feel this. They know we're here." "Elena, look." Leo pointed upward. Through a crack in the cave ceiling, the dark shape of a Raider skiff loomed overhead, descending fast. "They found us," Elena breathed. Korvac drew his blade. "Then we finish this before they arrive." Elena stepped onto the platform with the children. Saren moved beside her. The canyon roared, and the breaker began to wake. The stone platform glowed brighter and brighter until it looked like a rising sun trapped under their feet. The carvings lit up in sharp lines, alive with electric blue fire. The air vibrated with a deep humming sound that shook Leo's chest and made Kira's scales rise. Above them, through cracks in the canyon roof, the Raider skiff descended like a giant metal claw. Its engines whined, echoing off the stone walls. Dust rained down. Lights on its underside flickered and pulsed, searching for targets. "They're landing right on top of us," Elena shouted. "No," Saren said, eyes sharpening like steel. "They're coming to stop the breaker." Korvac raised his blade in a salute. "Then let them try." The skiff lowered until its shadow swallowed the chamber. A hatch slid open with a hiss. 5 Raiders jumped out, their exosuits glowing bright blue. They moved with terrifying speed, landing smoothly on the canyon floor without a sound. But something was wrong. Their movements were jerky, uneven. Their lights flickered like dying stars. Saren noticed it too. "The breaker, it already weakens their tech." Elena took aim. "Good. Because we're outnumbered." Leo kept his hand on the pathstone, helping Kira stabilize it. The stone vibrated so hard, he could barely hold it. Kira's fingers shook. "Elena," Leo cried. "It's activating, but it wants more energy. Someone has to keep their hand here. Stay with it." Elena called back. "Saren and I will hold the line." Korvac roared, charging the nearest Raider. His blade slammed into its armor, sparks bursting. The Raider staggered but didn't fall. Its mechanical arm snapped forward, grabbing Korvac by the throat. Before it could crush him, Saren leaped from behind, her twin blades slicing the Raider's elbow joint. The arm snapped off with a crack. The Raider collapsed, sparking and twitching. "That one's down," Saren shouted. But more dropped from the ship. 3, 5, 8. Elena fired shot after shot, aiming for joints. Her sidearm hummed weakly. The canyon was killing her tech too. A Raider charged at her, but Korvac threw himself between them, slamming his shoulder into the machine and sending it rolling across the floor. "Human," Korvac barked. "Your weapon fails. Use your fists. Use your fire." Elena didn't argue. She holstered her useless gun and grabbed a fallen metal rod from the ground. When a Raider swung its arm toward her, she ducked and smashed the rod against its knee joint. The metal cracked. The Raider fell to one side. "Not bad for off-world bone," Korvac growled approvingly. "Focus," Elena snapped. Behind them, Leo and Kira struggled to keep their hands on the platform. Symbols on the stone flashed wildly, shifting patterns as if searching for something. "It wants a third person," Kira gasped. "Someone older. Someone with strong will." Leo looked at his mother, but she was locked in battle. Saren fought 2 Raiders at once, her blades flashing silver arcs. Korvac pushed forward like a living storm, knocking enemies aside. Kira turned to Leo, eyes wide with fear. "It wants you," she whispered. "You are the only human who touched the pathstone first. You started this." Leo swallowed. His heart pounded. He placed both hands on the glowing surface. The platform erupted in light. Elena felt it before she saw it. A sudden pulse of energy that made her skin prickle. She twisted just in time to see Leo and Kira surrounded by a circle of blue fire. The canyon walls vibrated. The ground pulsed beneath her boots. "Kira! Leo!" Elena screamed. "We're okay," Leo shouted back, voice trembling. "Just keep them away." She turned and nearly lost her balance. The raiders nearest the children were glitching. Their lights flickered wildly. Their limbs jerked as if invisible strings pulled them in different directions. "The breaker is waking," Saren yelled. The chamber shook again, hard enough to send stones crashing from the ceiling. Cracks tore across the floor. A massive pillar toppled, crushing 2 raiders beneath it. The skiff overhead wobbled, engines sputtering. Elena grabbed Saren's arm. "It's working. The breaker is killing their tech." "No," Saren said sharply. "It is unmaking it." One raider screamed in a mechanical pitch that made everyone flinch. Its armor peeled apart, piece by piece, like something was ripping it from inside. Leo winced. "Mom, the platform is too hot." Kira's claws dug into the stone. "We can't stop now." Korvac saw a raider sprinting toward the children and threw himself in its path. The raider slammed into his shoulder with brutal force. Korvac grunted, stumbling. But he did not fall. He grabbed the raider by the head and slammed it into the ground so hard the canyon shook. "Face me," Korvac roared. Stormlance does not yield. Elena smashed her metal rod into a raider's chest, sparks flying. Saren's blades cut through another's legs. But they kept coming, stumbling, broken, but still coming. The breaker pulsed again. This time, everything electronic screamed. Elena's wristband died. Her comm went silent. The raiders' weapons shut off mid-shot. The skiff engines coughed, sputtered, and went dead. The ship fell. Not gracefully. It dropped like a stone. "Move," Elena shouted. Korvac shoved Leo and Kira off the platform just as the skiff's full weight slammed into the chamber floor. Dust exploded everywhere. Metal shattered. The shockwave knocked Saren into a wall and sent Elena rolling across the stone. When she looked up, she saw the raiders twitching violently, systems melting, lights dying. One by one, the machine stopped. Silence fell. Not peaceful silence. Deep, heavy, waiting silence. Then, "Mom," Leo whispered from beside Kira, shaking. "I think we did it." Kira's voice was small. "The breaker is awake." Elena rushed to them and pulled them into a fierce hug. "You scared me to death," she muttered, voice breaking. Korvac stood over the wreckage of the skiff, chest rising with heavy breaths. "The raiders are finished," he said. "Their hive will feel this loss. They will flee." Saren sheathed her blades with trembling hands. The canyon chose well. Elena looked at the children. 2 small hands. 1 glowing stone. And a canyon that whispered truth. "Is it over?" Leo asked. Elena looked around the ruined chamber, the dead machines, the falling dust. "No," she said softly. This was only the first blow. Far above them, the canyon wind shifted direction, cold and sharp. And somewhere in that wind, a warning whispered. The raiders will return. The canyon walls stopped shaking at last. The breaker's blue light faded into a soft glow, then into faint lines that pulsed like slow breathing. Smoke rose from the dead raider skiff. Metal hissed and cracked as it cooled. The settlement above was safe, for now. Captain Elena Reyes helped Leo and Kira climb over fallen stone chunks. Both children were covered in dust, faces pale, but their eyes were wide with a strange, glowing pride. Korvac of the Stormlance stood at the edge of the wreck, chest heaving. A long cut bled down his arm. His armor was dented and cracked. But he smiled, a rare sight on a war chief of the Dune clans. "You too," he rumbled, pointing at Leo and Kira, "did what 100 warriors could not." Kira's tail drooped shyly. Leo scratched his dusty hair, unsure what to say. Elena placed a hand on each of their shoulders. "They didn't fight for glory," she said softly. "They fought because they couldn't stand watching people get taken." Saren stepped forward. Her silver armor was scratched, and her hair hung loose around her sharp face. She touched her fist to her chest in respect. "Stormlance will sing of this day," she said. The canyon breakers, the 2 small ones, and the humans who fought beside us. Leo blinked. We get a song? Sarah nodded. Of course. Songs keep truth alive. Kira smiled for the first time since the canyon's dark echoes. A song means you are part of our stories now. Leo looked at her, and for the first time, Kira didn't look away. The group climbed out of the rift canyon slowly, each step careful in the shifting dust. The twilight sky above had softened to shades of gold and deep purple. When they reached the ridge, the view stopped them cold. The settlement was full of life. Stormlance riders guarded the walls. Concord healers rushed from house to house, tending the wounded. Human marines carried cracked raider parts to a safe zone for analysis. Everyone moved with urgency, but also relief. Word traveled fast. The raiders were fleeing. Their tech was dead. As Elena, Saren, Korvac, Leo, and Kira emerged from the canyon, the nearest group of Sarati villagers froze, staring in disbelief. Then someone shouted. They returned. The elders live. The canyon did not take them. Cheers erupted. War beasts stomped the ground in celebration. Children clapped. Elders bowed their heads in gratitude. Elder Vesk, bandaged, limping, but alive, walked forward with 2 Concord healers supporting him. When he saw Kira, he stopped completely. His eyes softened, almost shining. Elia Blood, he whispered. You led them. You saved us all. Kira looked uncertain. I only followed the stone. No, Vesk said gently. You followed your heart. And that is harder. He knelt, placing a hand over his chest in the Concord gesture of honor. Kira's breath hitched. She wasn't exile blood anymore. Not to him. Not to anyone here. Leo stood a little taller beside her. That evening, under the twin suns setting low, the Sarati held a ceremony unlike any before it. A great fire lit the center of the settlement. Humans and Sarati gathered together in a circle, warriors, elders, marines, children. Food roasted over the flames. Music hummed from strange desert instruments. Someone handed Leo a bowl of something that smelled like spicy fruit. He politely pretended to like it. Korvac stood before the crowd. In our history, he said, voice echoing strong and deep, the Stormlance rode alone. The Concord guarded knowledge alone. Humans walked their own path among the stars. Tonight, those paths join. A cheer rose. Korvac looked at Leo and Kira. These 2 small hearts did not see tribe or law. They saw a friend. And because of that, 2 peoples walked together now. Saren stepped forward next. Let it be known, the breaker woke for them. The canyon allowed them passage. Stormlance owes them life. Leo flushed bright red. Kira gripped his hand, confident now, chin up. Elena wrapped an arm around her son, proud beyond words. And humans, Saren added, glancing toward Elena. They surprised even the canyon. They walk into danger without fear. They fight with fire. They protect what is not theirs because their hearts decide it should be. Elena raised a brow. Is that a compliment? Saren's smile was small but real. Yes. The crowd laughed. When the celebration calmed, Elena and Saren walked away from the noise, watching the stars brighten over the desert. Silence fell between them, not awkward, but steady. You plan to leave with your fleet? Saren asked quietly. Maybe, Elena said. Maybe not. Saren's silver eyes glinted. Ravax has room for more fire. Elena smiled softly. Maybe that's exactly why I'm staying. Saren didn't look surprised. She simply nodded, as if she had known all along. Nearby, Leo and Kira sat on a low stone wall, the wooden glider between them. Kira traced old patterns into the dirt. Leo corrected one with his finger. Their quiet laughter drifted into the warm air. Korvac watched them with folded arms. That boy, he muttered to Elena, is trouble. Humans tend to be, she replied. Korvac grinned. Good. The desert needs trouble. Elena looked at the sky, at the glowing stars, at the darkness beyond. The raiders would return one day. Maybe not soon. Maybe stronger. But now Ravax had something it never had before. Humans. Stormlance riders. Concord elders. 2 children bound by unexpected friendship. A breaker ready to wake again if needed. And for the first time in years, Elena felt hope. Hope as bright as the desert fire. Hope as brave as a small wooden toy held out by a child who simply refused to let someone else feel alone. Tonight, under the twin suns, 2 worlds celebrated. Tomorrow, they would stand together. Because of one human boy, one lonely Sarati girl. and the courage it took to share a tiny broken glider in the red desert of Ravax. 3.